Hey, welcome to Coffee and Chatter. Tonight, I'd like to speak about the public school system. It's broken. What are we going to do about it? So let's begin. Houston, we have a problem. Look, I'm retired with 6 grown children. The youngest is 25, and I have 6 grandchildren. 5 are school age and are all in Christian schools, thankfully. On a personal note, I spent my first 8 years of school in a private institution. From ninth through 12th grades, I wasted my time in the public school system. It was by choice, and it was probably one of the worst mistakes I've ever made in my life. I should have stayed where I was. The only thing I think I really learned at that point in the public school system was algebra and a few historical facts. Fortunately, I was smart enough to get by without ever doing much homework, and most of my learning had occurred already in the first through 8th grades, and by achieving a pretty high level of reading and writing comprehension that served me well in the library and my reading and writing endeavors throughout my life. As for my 6 children, 50 of their 72 school years took place in private school or at home. In fact, the more time any of them spent in the public school system, the more their thinking was skewed. I regret those decisions now. So now what? Actually, that's the question I'm asking you. I get it. You've been told you need a new car. You need a bigger home. Both parents need to work to achieve those things. And private school doesn't come cheap. After all, aren't our taxes funding the public school system? Well, like I said, 50 of the 72 years represented by the education of my children was out of the public school system. But I continued to pay school taxes all that time and still do. So you got to bite the bullet sometimes. So something I realized probably 35 or so years ago while homeschooling my own children was that the government public school system was not only bankrupt, it was also unredeemable. In other words, it was unfixable. My thought at that time was that schools needed to be run by people in the private sector. Of course, that scares people when you talk about privatizing things. I don't know. They think, that's bad. People are just trying to make money. What's the government doing? So, does that scare you? Allow me to explain it. Maybe it'll make a little more sense. Get rid of all the school taxes we're being charged. Now everybody has money to do whatever they want for their children's education. Much of the schooling should be and will be provided by religious organizations: Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, Muslim, whatever. And for those who don't want religion and education, which in my opinion is a bad idea, they can organize and form their own schools, local schools. The point is, everything will be controlled by parents and local educators. Additionally, educators will have to perform or they will not be educators long. Forget about this whole union thing. There can be some government assistance as long as the government cannot interfere. Remember, that's how we got where we are now. It'll have to be worked out. So the final issue here, which is going to come up, is regardless of the end of school taxes, how about those who cannot afford to pay for a private education? That is the biggest problem I see. And since we've landed multiple men on the moon, I'm sure we can figure it out. Americans are inherently good people. And we're the most generous people in the world, so we'll figure it out. It ain't working the way it is. So the real problem is, what's the alternative? If you don't realize you are losing your child to the progressive crazies pushing critical race theory, diversity and equity, climate change, and a whole array of other ideas that have nothing to do with academics, you, my friend, are under a serious delusion and you need to get out more often. For instance, why do progressive educators want to get rid of advanced math and science classes, which we've been hearing lately? Because it's not fair to minorities and those that might not be up to snuff. So let's lower the bar for everyone. And that's only the beginning. Latin, a classical education, that's racist. All right, the point is, if you don't get your kids out of this system and figure out how to do it differently, you are going to be very, very sorry with the result in 5 to 10 years from now. So, what say you? I'm open to your comments. Please change my mind. And thanks for listening.